Hey guys, what is going on? Today I will be ranking my top 25 for week 9. Now, before I start the video, anybody who's been watching my stuff, if you enjoy my videos, go ahead and leave comments, like the videos, subscribe. It'd be really awesome. But let's get into the video. I'm going to be talking about my top 25 rankings for week 9, starting off with all the way down at 25. Now, with these teams, I will be ranking them myself. I'm not ranking how the AP poll ranks them. I rank them off how they performed this year and who I actually think are the best teams in college football. So there could be a team with 4 losses on here if I think they're that good and their resume is just that good. But I don't think I have any 4-loss teams on here. I probably don't even have any 3-loss teams on here. But starting off with number 25, I think Oklahoma State deserves a spot in the top 25. 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't expect anyone to have Oklahoma State in their top 25, but I have to give them this spot. They have improved drastically throughout the season, and they are 5-2 and still have a shot to prove themselves at home against their rival Oklahoma. Don't count this team out from getting beat by 26 against South Alabama to my top 25. Props to them. Oklahoma State is a good team, and they're just going to keep getting better. It should be a good game against Oklahoma, so we'll see what they can do. Number 24, I have Tennessee. I almost ranked Tennessee higher, but I can't because of that loss to Florida. Not only that, but they got outscored 27-0 in the second half against Alabama. Sometimes I think this team is good, then they change my mind, but they're still a decent top 25 team. Their defense has been pretty good. Joe Milton's kind of up and down, but they're a decent team. Number 23, I have Tulane. Tulane's only loss comes to Ole Miss, in which their starting quarterback was out, but they are still bound to lose another game. They almost lost to North Texas. I think they will lose another game. They got a couple tough games coming up. They got one against Rice this week, and Rice has been playing pretty well. Number 22, James Madison. I have them ranked over Tulane because they're 7-0. I think they might be slightly better, but it's hard to say. But props to JMU for the season they've had and still playing throughout the whole season, knowing this season won't get them a bowl game and they won't get the recognition that they deserve. But I'm going to be giving them the recognition they deserve because they deserve the 22 spot. They're 7-0. Their defense is playing really good. Nobody's really talking about this game. Nobody's really talking about this team. James Madison is a good team and they should really be respected. Too bad they can't play in a bowl game this year, but maybe next year. Number 21, I have UCLA. This team's a good team, and their defense has played pretty well. They have 2 losses at the hands of 2 top 15 Pac-12 teams, which is Utah and Oregon State, and both of them they were competitive in for the most part. Dante Moore, he's only a freshman. That's UCLA's quarterback. 2 freshmen starting. They have young talent. Imagine how good this team will be within the next couple years. They're going to be moving to the Big Ten, so it will be tougher competition, but don't count them out to compete with USC, Washington, and Oregon. Number 20, I got Louisville. Similar to North Carolina, who I have ranked at 19, which I'll get to next, but similar to North Carolina, they got hyped up just to lose to a bad team. Louisville lost to Pitt by 18, but I'm going to give North Carolina the edge because they're ranked 10 in the AP poll. And I was never high on Louisville anyways, even though they beat Notre Dame. That was Louisville's Super Bowl. I still got to rank them because of that win, but I think North Carolina's the better team. Number 19, North Carolina, which I was just talking about. I can't believe what happened to them this week. You can go back and watch my last video. I was talking about North Carolina, Virginia, and just kind of throwing shade at North Carolina. They played a terrible game, but besides that loss, they've been decent all season. Their offense has been great, and they still deserve a top 20 spot for me. But there's no way they make the playoffs. They're out of it. Number 18, I got Missouri. Missouri has improved throughout the season, and their only loss is to the hands of LSU, who is in my top 15. Missouri has 2 double-digit wins against Kentucky and South Carolina the last 2 weeks, and they still have Georgia. If they can beat Georgia, they're still alive in the SEC East. Missouri, they can do something. I mean, a lot of people aren't talking about this team as the top team because I don't think they're a top team like that. But imagine they get an upset win against Georgia. That's going to be so good for them. That almost clinches them a spot in the SEC East championship. in the SEC championship. Number 17, I got Air Force. I have this team ranked over some other teams who might deserve to be ahead of them, but Air Force is 7-0, and they have looked good all season. Their defense has done a good job, and they lead the nation in rushing yards too. This team is very improved from last year. Though last year they were pretty good too, but this team might just finish undefeated. And they might be a top 10 team by the end of the year in the actual AP poll. Like, they'll probably be in my top 10 if they go undefeated, no doubt about it. But in the actual AP poll, they might be top 10. They have some teams to beat out though. There's some good teams this year. So I don't think they're making the playoffs. I don't think there's a big chance. Maybe there's a slight chance, but it's very slight. I don't see it happening, even if they go undefeated. Number 16, I got Duke. I'm still high on Duke. They came so close in the game against Notre Dame, and their second loss comes to FSU, Florida State, who they were beating going into the fourth quarter, and their quarterback also got hurt. Duke is a great team with an elite defense. Duke needs to get the praise. Duke is a good team. People need to look at this team as one of the best 2-loss teams of this year, because they are a good team. Their quarterback's a good quarterback, and their defense is really good. And just imagine if Riley Leonard's been fully healthy all season. Number 15, I got LSU. Similar to the team above them, which I will not mention because I don't want to spoil my top 15. All the teams in my top 15, but similar to the team above them at 14. People are questioning this team because their defense hasn't been great, but they are a good team, and Jaden Daniels is having a great season. They're a great 2-loss team, and if they win out, they might make the playoffs as a 2-loss team. I don't know how big of a chance they have of making the playoffs if they win out as a 2-loss team because of the competition they have. I'll have to look more into that, but there's definitely a chance being there in the SEC, so we'll see what they can do. Number 14, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is my number 14. People are questioning this team, but I still think they deserve some credit. Their only loss comes to Alabama. They also have a good win versus LSU. They still have a shot at Georgia. So we'll see what's in store for Ole Miss, because they're not a bad team. Number 13, I got Utah. Similar to Oregon State, they have been decent all year with only one loss. And I've been up and down on this team, but I'm finally giving them respect. Their defense has played really good all year, and their offense is slightly improving. They're pretty good at running the ball the last few weeks. Their run game's been pretty decent all year, actually. I mean, it wasn't crazy good, but when you're one-dimensional on offense, it's not going to get you far unless you're super good. But they are really improving their offense, and they are still in the Pac-12 picture. Do not count them out. Number 12, I got Notre Dame. I still like what this team has done, even though they have 2 losses. They're my favorite 2-loss team. I think they're the best 2-loss team. But one of those losses was a very close game against a top 3 team, Ohio State, which is why they are my best, or my highest ranked 2-loss team. They played Ohio State close, and their other loss was on the road after they had a brutal schedule and beat Duke in a physical game the week before. I feel like that game was kind of a fluke. Louisville had their Super Bowl. They're never going to play like that again. I was shocked by how Louisville played. They have not played like that nearly close all season. They played like crap all season. This team can finish the season 10-2. They have a tough game in a couple of weeks against Clemson. It'll be a very even game. I could see that game going either way because Clemson, they're not in my top 25. They were in my top 25, but they have 3 losses. And they lost to Miami in kind of a game that they should have won. But Clemson's still a good team. Clemson has a very good defense, just like Notre Dame. So that game will be even, pretty even, Notre Dame and Clemson. I think Notre Dame will probably win that game, but we'll have to wait and see. Number 11, I got Oregon State. Outside the top 10, it's a little hard to rank these teams. But I do have Oregon State because they have been decent all year. Outside their loss against Washington State, which they could have won, to be honest. They played very bad in the first half, which I've talked about in other videos too. But the second half they played a lot better. They just kind of came out not expecting to. They kind of came out and didn't play their best. But Oregon State still has a good offense, and they're a decent line of scrimmage team. They are still alive in the Pac-12 for sure. Number 10, I got Penn State to round out my top 10. The only right spot goes to this team, in my opinion, for the top 10. They have been undefeated, and defense has played spectacular, but their offense lacks big plays and the talent. Just, this offense does not have as many explosive plays. They lack the talent positions, but their defense has been really good. They haven't played anybody outside Ohio State, so I can't rank them higher than 10, but I also can't rank them lower than 10 because they've been dominant and their defense is really good, and they only have one loss, which is to Ohio State, so they're the only right team at number 10. I can't rank them outside the top 10, but I can't rank them any higher. At number 9, I have Bama. I think Bama has a good shot at the playoffs now. They're proving people wrong every week, including me. They're proving me wrong. They're definitely proving me wrong. They keep getting better, and there's a chance they win out and beat Georgia. If they can win out and beat Georgia, they're definitely in the playoffs. Like, it's almost a lock. Alabama's only loss comes to Texas, and Bama's improving every single week. They had a tough game against Arkansas, but outscoring Tennessee 27-0 in the second half was pretty impressive. Number 8, I got Texas. I have Texas at 8 below Oregon this week because of that game against Houston. They were so close to losing that game, and Quinn Ewers is hurt now, so I think they are only the second best one-loss team. Sorry, I can't speak. Number 7, Oregon. Oregon could easily be top 5 if they beat Washington. This team has looked very good, running the ball and passing the ball. Their defense is pretty decent too. They lost, but I'm still high on Oregon, and I think they still have a shot at making the playoffs. Like I said before, they can run and pass the ball very well, which a lot of these other teams in the Pac-12 can't do like Oregon. Number 6, I got Oklahoma. Oklahoma has that big win against Texas, but they are on upset alert in their next couple games, coming up against Kansas and Oklahoma State. I think both of those games are away games. Oklahoma's going to be favorited in both those games, probably by double digits, but do not count these teams out. They're both only with like 2 losses, I believe. I know Oklahoma State's 5-2. Kansas, I'm pretty sure they only have 2 losses. They're both decent teams. And like I said in my last video, a lot of these teams in the Big 12, they're not ranked, they're not super good, but they can compete. They definitely can compete. Number 5, I got Washington. Washington is only 5 for me because of that game against Arizona State. They might have been 4 if they just destroyed Arizona State, but I can't really rank them above Georgia. They only have one good win, which is good enough to get them in the top 5, but I do think Georgia is the better team as of now. Washington was being compared to 2019 LSU. I just do not see that. Unless they can just prove everybody wrong, drop like 50 points the next 5 games, go all the way, win the national title. And I'm not saying they can't do it, but as of now, 2019 LSU, I don't think that's a good take for anybody to say right now after that game. Number 4, I got Georgia. I kind of spoiled it when I was mentioning Washington. Georgia doesn't look good, or Georgia doesn't look as good as they have the past couple years, but they're still undefeated. They have had some close games against Auburn and South Carolina, but not only that, Brock Bowers is also hurt now, so we have more to learn on his situation, because we don't know when he's going to be back. Will he be back in the next couple of weeks? I don't know. Will he be back by the time it's basically go time, which is the SEC championship and the playoffs, when they're really going to be challenged? Or will he be out for the rest of the season? I doubt Brock Bowers is going to stay out the rest of the season. I don't see him doing that. But, I mean, if you can't play, you can't play. That's just how it is. But he's the best player on the team. He might be the most dynamic player in all of college football. By that, I mean, by dynamic, I mean that he's the most useful player in all of college football. I think he benefits Georgia more than any other player on any other team does, because he's really the focal point of that offense. He's the main point of that whole offense, so it's just how it is. Number 3, I got Ohio State. Ohio State and Florida State could be switched, but I'm giving number 2 to Florida State, which I will talk about next. But Ohio State's offense has some concerns, but they still have 2 great wins against Notre Dame and Penn State. That's the only reason I don't have Ohio State At 2, it's because of their offense. Or even at 1, they could honestly make a case for number 1 because of their wins. Their defense has looked amazing. But they lack a little bit on the offensive side. And you got to be a complete team. You got to be a complete team to have the number 1 spot. Number 2, I got Florida State. I think I had this team at like 5 or 6 a few weeks ago. Because their other teams were looking better than them. Florida State's not looking like a great team. But throughout the season, they have 3 top 25 wins and a great resume. They keep playing pretty well. They had 1 bad game against Boston College. But they're really good at making big plays on offense and defensive side. Jordan Travis is amazing. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman or anything, but he does his job. And this team can really make big plays on both sides of the ball. That's what won the game against Clemson, because Clemson outplayed Florida State. Clemson really did outplay Florida State, but Florida State made the big plays. That's what won them the game. But I cannot rank them at number 1. The only right team that I could have at number 1, in my opinion, is Michigan. They deserve the number 1 spot, even if they haven't played anybody. They look like the most complete team in all of college football, and they've been really dominant. I think at the game against Penn State, I think they'll probably win that game pretty easily. I don't know if I want to say pretty easily, but I got them by double digits. As of right now. Michigan's just looked really dominant. I know they haven't played anybody, but holding all your opponents to under 10 points and scoring 40, 50 points a game, like the last 4 or 5 games, that's pretty impressive. Ever since they got John Harbaugh back. Is it John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh? I might be having a brain fart here. Ever since they got Harbaugh back, I'm just going to say Harbaugh. I don't want to say anything wrong, even though I might have already said something wrong. But they have Harbaugh. Ever since he's came back, Michigan's just been dominant. Now, I'm going to talk about something real quick. There is some accusations. I don't know if I want to call them accusations. They've been pretty proven to be right. But Michigan spying on other teams, and they're getting play calls from other teams, basically doing scouting report in person of other teams, scouting other teams. That was what was going on. I don't know much about that, but if you guys have any comments about that, if you guys have any concerns about that, let me know. You can talk about it in the comments, because I'd like to hear your intake on what happened with the whole Michigan spying on other teams' plays and getting the play calls of the other teams. Besides that, Michigan, they've been really dominant, and gotta give props to them. Number 1 team in the nation for me. That's going to be it for my video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm new to this. Going to start posting more recently. I just posted recently, and I'm posting again. So 2 back-to-back videos. Hope you guys enjoy that. And goodbye, guys.